Thank you. Lynn Anderson with Osborne Drive. The charter. First of all, I want to address Mr. Torcivia.
Actually, you need to address all your questions.
Okay, but I'm going to,
yeah.
thank you very much, I realize that, thank you. Mr. Torcivia is worth his weight in gold to this commission right now. He has decided on a certain direction on this. Some other land use attorney may differ with him. The charter is the Bible or the Constitution of the city, not the comprehensive plan or the map that can be changed by a political vote from the dais. The charter already addressed heights. This is why Respectful Planning PAC was formed and took the issue to the voters. The vote was decided on March 12, 2013, and the vote of the people is supreme. It was not an initiative or a referendum for any development order. It was not an initiative or referendum for any local comprehensive plan. It was not an initiative or referendum for any map amendment. It was an initiative or referendum to amend our charter. Florida statutes mandate referendum when 10% of the registered voters sign a petition for it. When the referendum is successful, which this was, the charter must be changed according to the express will of the people. Therefore, we the people expect you to go forward and make this charter change according to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Coleman?
Good evening, everybody. You know, it's only taken 8 months from the vote to get this opinion by the attorney here. And it seems like a long time to wait for that. It seems as though things were put off for a while because things were said that, well, we need to do the whole city. And as we've heard, we do have land use regulations that do protect a lot of the city, but they don't protect these two areas. These two areas were brought up by the commission as areas that needed to be higher. They were brought up not through the will of any charrettes, through any meetings, through any master plans. They were just brought up out of nowhere. Let's do tall buildings down below Federal. Let's do tall buildings up past F Street. These are areas that need to be protected in the city, as other areas are already protected through the LDRs. Those two areas are not. I would ask that what Commissioner McBoy brought up in the beginning, that you have backup for this considered vote tonight, that you have backup from other attorneys, not just this particular, looking at various cities that came up with their viewpoints, but that we have somebody else that is able to come here and look at the backup and see that. We didn't have that. And I think that was very unfair this evening. This is a really big concern by the voters of the people of the city of Lake Worth, by myself and others who have been involved with this PAC. And I think it's very important that we protect these two areas of the city and that you do what you were elected to do, and that is to respect the vote of the people of the city of Lake Worth and enact what they asked you to enact, which was a charter amendment to protect those two areas. So whatever we can do, I mean, talk. We can go back and talk many different times and bring up various situations and maybe come up with some compromises. And I'm all for that, but we really need to do something because a lot of people are very concerned about these two areas.
Understood. Thank you. Ms. Sharp?
Loretta Sharp, 1311. Excuse me, so there was a referendum, and it did pass. And I'm sorry that there was a referendum, and I'm sorry it came to that. But when we established the heights, 65 feet east of Dixie, 100 feet west of Dixie, there was charrettes, there was a planning board, there was task forces that met and talked and said, how do we get this town out of this sludge we're in moving forward? And that's why the commission at that time, and we had a referendum. 65 and 100 feet came from a referendum. I'm very sorry what has happened in this town over the last 5 years. I'm very, very sorry. I sat in this room the night before the pact was formed. And I heard the attorney say, there's something in front of the legislature that may deal with this issue, but everybody was just so emotionally charged. I waited until less than 1 month before we were going to ballot. 3.5 weeks before we were going to ballot, before I said, okay, no one's going to do a thing. This is going to pass unanimously because there's nobody doing a thing. And I've asked Mr. Rice, would you form a pact with me right here at the water cooler? And he said yes. I hate to see what this has done to the city. We're talking about 4 lots east of Federal Highway, and I do think, John, that you're right. I think we should deal with 100 feet west of Dixie. I really think that should be addressed. But 4 lots east of Dixie, I don't give a damn. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a motion, are you any commissioner comments? We've got a motion on the floor in a second. All, oh, did you, Commissioner McCoy?
A little comment. I mean, I hear Ms. Sharp that her feeling is in a particular area and higher than 65 feet or up to 65 feet, she doesn't care. I heard the mayor say that you know, she doesn't think that tall buildings of that height would affect anybody's quality of life. And I guess what I would say is, I'm an empirical science kind of guy. I say, I think we had a vote on this. And it clearly disagrees with that. It says that a lot of people do care. And I'd heard that, that's why I thought we should vote on it. I'd heard that in the community for many years, for a long time, from a wide range of people, that they feel very strongly about what this community is like. And yes, people feel strongly that they want to do something about economic development, but the solution is not going up in heights. And nobody has made a case strongly enough to convince the public that, hey, if you go up to 65 feet there and build more Lucerne-type buildings there, that's going to fix blight in other parts of town. That's been proposed as a hypothesis, but it's only that. And it hasn't, people haven't bought it. They voted against it. So I think, again, we have a responsibility. I'm very concerned that this issue was on the agenda, that there was not backup, that we did not have an open discussion with possibly some other land use attorney folks or somebody who has attorney background who says, look, you have an issue in your community. Your community has expressed, maybe different than a lot of other South Florida communities, has said, we want to be something different than that. What are the mechanisms that let us do our job as commissioners to carry out those wishes? Whether it's by referendum, whether it's by charter, whether it's by this, by that. Show us a path forward to carry out what we have heard a very clear message on, that we do care about our quality of life in the community and we do not want to go up.
I just want to say one thing to clarify the record. When people put things in my words in my mouth that are inaccurate, I want to correct them right away. Number one, I did not say, you can listen back to the meeting, that heights don't affect the quality of life of certain people or that 65 feet do not. I did not say that. I said we will discuss quality of life and other issues in regards to that matter. I did not make a generalized statement of that. Mr. Trosivia, how many attorneys do you have in your firm?
6 altogether.
Okay, how many attorneys looked at this?
4.
Okay, so this is not one attorney's version
And
of...
I mentioned I spoke to other city attorneys at other cities, including the city of Boca Raton, that was involved in this legislation. We read the staff analysis up in Tallahassee. And again, the governor only signed this bill a couple weeks ago, and I think everyone knows that this topic was going to be discussed tonight. The comprehensive plan got amended, moved tonight specifically, so that we can provide the legal opinion after the governor, because if the governor vetoed the bill, there's no point in doing the legal opinion. But once the governor did not veto the bill and became a law, that's when we knew we had to deliver an opinion tonight.
Commissioner Zerni?
I wanted to also express, I guess, my own feeling about the clarity of the referendum. I respect your opinion that you think it's a clear answer, but you might have a clear answer to an unclear question here. I really think that that's what's happened on this referendum, and I'm very much involved in the efforts for planning, and I do see a clear relationship between economic and jobs and opportunities. and reducing the financial stress that we're talking about, crime here tonight and code. We don't have the resources, we don't have the taxes to be able to support the kind of proper attention to some of these things that we have. We got staff people doing 3 and 4 times the amount of jobs that they should do and stressing out other staff that they resign. I totally disagree, and that's where I did have a dog in that fight, in that sense of saying, I don't think this is clearly written. I think it would be really good for us to get out and take a real true survey about specific areas here, because 99% of the LDRs that are on there were consistent with what a large group of people agreed on. There's a 1% area in this small little block area that is in contention. It does happen to provide some opportunities to bolster our beach, bolster our golf course, bolster our hotels. It's the little economic engine in the core downtown that does affect the rest of the city. And it's going to be about jobs. And I look forward to us having this conversation down the line.
We've got a motion on the floor. Sorry, Vice Mayor.
You know, I want to comment on 2 things Commissioner McCoy's pointed out tonight. The first thing is the issue of home rule. You know, I'm just as disturbed, I'm sure, as anybody, if Tallahassee continues to want to tell us which way is up. When in reality, we should be telling Tallahassee which way is up. Okay, that was the message that I have from my colleagues around the county, and I talk about that every day. It is we, at the local level, who determine our destiny, will craft our future, and create the path that we're going to take. And I personally am sick and tired of Tallahassee and of Washington dictating the way they dictate. Everything from unfunded mandates to situations like this. But until we, as elected officials, develop thicker skin and more courage to stand up to our legislators and quit glad-handing with them when they come and give their little fluff speeches when they come in every 3 months, until we as local officials start picking up the phone and calling our legislators and telling them what we want and when we want it and what color we want it, we're going to continue to suffer the same fate that we're suffering tonight. That's on home rule. Number 2, I don't like people putting words in my mouth, and you didn't put words in my mouth. However, I don't like misrepresentations. And I did not have a dog in this fight so much. But I will tell you, the thing that galled me the most, and you said it tonight, was that this commission was going to raise the heights. We did not. For the 500th time, this commission at no time raised the heights. We lowered the heights. We lowered the heights. Am I correct, Mr. Waters?
Yes, you are.
Will you say that clearly for the record?
Yes, you're correct, Commissioner Maxwell.
This commission lowered what was already on the books. That was the plan all along, was to lower what was already on the books. We had 99.9% of what took 7 years to come to fruition. We had 99.9% of what the previous administration, the previous elected bodies wanted. 99.9%. It came down to a fistful of blocks. Yet the story was that the commission was raising the heights, and that was a falsehood,
Right.
and it was a lie. We lowered the heights. We did it in respect for what the people wanted, that you spoke about all night. We did it out of respect for the charm and the quaintness of the city, which you've spoken about ad nauseum, and I mean that in the most affectionate way. I am sick and tired of the divisive lying that goes on in this city to divide the people.
Point
for
of
political
order,
gain.
point of order, Vice Mayor. Point of order, please, keep it, you can continue to
I'm
talk,
done.
but not
I said
after
what I have
the
to
story.
say.
Thank you. No, I, like I said, you can continue to talk, but don't be accusatory. I mean, we got into this predicament. I said, we're all in the place, you know. United we stand, divided we fall.
Right.
You know, and we all have to be, I've used this analogy once before, it was right after my election, when I said, you know how you have that relationship with your family? You might be mad at your brother, you might be mad at someone else, but anybody else says anything about your brother, you're in their face.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And that's the sort of relationship that I hope that all the different sides and factions that we can have that thing to say, all right, I might be mad at you right now, but if anybody else says something about me, you would have my back. You know what I mean? And that's we have to stop this dialogue of fighting one another on it and come together on it to say, listen, we can solve it. I am listening. I do wanna find consensus. I do wanna find a middle place because we all have differing views and no one's always gonna get 110% of what they want all the time. But I think that we have made such great leaps and bounds. We're finally taking the steps that we need to and realizing what our problems are and what our hopes and dreams are for the future. And we can do this thing together. We really can do this thing because nobody's trying to be spiteful or disrespectful of any one other person. You know what I mean? We can't achieve it unless we do it together. If we keep fighting, we're just never gonna get the, I mean, when I talked about having the Heights downtown, I specifically mentioned the hotel district. And I just watched as the dollars, being in the business person, watching the dollars come into our festivals and our things and not being spent there. Well, when you look at every week, there's an article in about tourism and the Convention and Visitors Bureau and how much money each year is more money is coming into Palm Beach County. More dollars are being spent. More hotel rooms are being done. We're losing out on that. Not to mention all the businesses that aren't moving here because our downtown doesn't get enough traffic. Our local residents can't support the local businesses to where they're profitable. They can't. Our local people can't support that. So we need to bring in people from out of town, not just tourists, but people from other communities. I mean, it's easy, you know, it's simple stuff. It doesn't mean a lot, but I think we can get there. Like I said, nobody moved here. I didn't bike ride all over Palm Beach County to find this city, to decide for my husband and I to be here because I wanted it to be something else. So, you know, we're in a good place. I hope we have this future conversation on it. But this item on the agenda is specifically whether or not we're going to adopt this as it is. We've got a motion on the floor and a second. Public comment has been made. All those in favor?
Say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay?
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you. We're going to take a brief break.